For this sessions, like I would just like to go over some of my experience of attending the previous Datafest. So I attended the Datafest in 2019. I think that was the last one before COVID, and they shut down everything. And then so I think this is the first year that they come back with like an on-site Datafest. And so I think that's quite exciting. And just to share upfront, like I was actually the best experience that I had at Hertie. So it was very nice. Like I think back then we have 15 people or something from Hertie joining, and then we have 3 different teams for the Datafest event, and it was in Mannheim, and so we stay and we work in Mannheim, and then afterwards like all the teams like we join together and we go to Heidelberg together, like which is basically like this area with the castles and very cool area. And it was such a nice experience, mainly because like that was like the first and one only time when like we actually like go out of parties together, and then we actually like have the time to sit down together and learn about each other and then talk, and also like to learn things together basically through this event, because it was also a very good learning experience. Like you actually get to work with a data set that you are not familiar with, and it's not like tailored for your educations, and so it's you get to really try your hands on some fun things. And also yeah, like I think like at night, like we went out to bars and just talk and just like talk about each other's dreams and things that we wanted to do, and it's very nice. And then at the end, after the event is over, like everybody went together to dinner, and so like we were just like a very nice tight group that we formed like over this 2 to 3 days period. And so I highly recommend everyone, yeah, just also to yeah, like not only just be at the event as well, but also to spend some time together and then go out and enjoy Munich and have fun there as well, and not just like be cramped together in this one room in LMU for the event. So yeah, let's maybe go over some of the things that maybe you should be aware about. So this is something that I highly recommend, and this is something that we always do before we go on any hackathons. So we used to have like a group of friends at Herties where we go to hackathons together around Berlin or in different places, and like this is something that we always do. And then we actually won, I think, 3 times in different places, mainly because of the preparation. I think the preparation is actually one of the most important aspects of the contest. And then the thing that happens in between is basically like how good you perform is based on how well you prepare, basically, right? And so one thing that I always recommend is to know what you're up against, which is basically researching on previous years, right? So you have the previous years. People have attended Datafest before, and they have written or they blogs, or they have shoot like a YouTube video or something similar, or maybe you can actually find like the previous year's Datafest websites where they actually like publish like, hey, like this is our the data sets and these are the winners and all that. So you can actually research on what was actually used as the data set before. And then with this research, like you can kind of have an idea of what kind of thing you can expect, right? So whether or not a data set that is like a little bit focused on numerical data, or it might be something that's related a little bit more on text. And so you can kind of expect like what is there. So yeah, you know what to prepare for. And then I also put here, I will share this presentation later, so you can click on it. But I also wrote on my experience when after the Datafest in 2019 there. And so I detailed on what we worked on and what is our thought process behind like finding the insights on that. And so if you want to, you can also take a look in here to read about the experience of attending the 2019 Datafest as well. And then the other thing that you need to do is also to divide the roles within your teams, right? So you have 5 people in your teams, and each one has their own strength, and each one wants to do different things. And so I think this is something that I really recommend, is to like have a sit down before the event and just like talk it through, like, hey, like what do you want to do? Like whether or not someone wants to do data cleaning, whether or not someone wants to do data wrangling, and someone wants to do visualizations, someone wants to do research more. And if someone who doesn't want to code, then maybe they can do the presentations and to like talk to everyone and do the research on that. And so there's a lot of different activities and different tasks that you have to do. And so I highly recommend you just like divide these different tasks up to among the team, so that like each of you know like what you need to do at the events, and so that you can actually research and you can actually revise and reviews on the different methods and different skills that it's needed, right? And so that's the third thing, which is the review and retrain, which is so if, for example, if you are someone that is that you agree to that's tasked with data cleaning and data wrangling, then you basically like go back to like all the course notes and like go online as well on YouTube, or maybe like some of the training websites to learn on, hey, like what are some of the data cleaning things that you need to know, right? Like or like how to take care of data imbalance, for example, or how to do data imputations and like do all kinds of these things that are related to data cleaning and data wrangling. And then if you are tasked with, for example, like modeling or something, then like you take a look at, hey, like what are some of the main machine learning modeling techniques that I need to know, and like what are some of the causal inference techniques that I need to know, so that each of you is specialized in different things, and then you can also do these things, and now you can also support your teammates as well. So usually, I think the modeling part is probably gonna take quite a bit of time, and also then there's also the presentation as well. So make sure to, I think, to divide the different tasks well, so that everyone have feel like that they're contributing and feel that they're also a part of the team, right? Because something that happens fairly regularly that we see in a lot of data and hackathons competition is that so you have like someone that is quite strong in coding, right? And then like usually like the person like hogs all the works, and then everyone feels that they're not contributing, or that they're not really doing anything, and that like it creates like some tension within the team, which is something that I would not recommend. So that's why I would highly recommend like having different tasks for different people, and you can also have two people on the same task, right? So that you have like a kind of like a team supporting each other at the same time. So you have two people work on data cleaning and data wrangling, for example, and then like 2 and 3 people work on theories and like researching on the domain, for example. So that like you all like working on things at the same time. And also another thing that I highly recommend, and this is actually like one of the things that help us the most in any of these competition, is actually have some boilerplate code that you can use, right? So boilerplate code means that code that you can reuse in anything, right? So you can kind of imagine like data cleaning and data wrangling, and also even modeling. A lot of these code can actually be reused in different projects, right? Because like usually it's the same, right? So you have like tabular data that is usually like in the same shape, and so you can kind of like, okay, like you have the same code for cleaning up the numerical data, so you have the same code that can clean up the categorical data, for example. And so you can actually reuse code in a lot of different projects. And so highly recommend to have some boilerplate codes that you might have used like in previous projects, or you can also create something new that at the start of the competition you already have like some framework, right, that you can actually use for the coding part, because the coding part is actually um, the not that it's not important, but nobody actually look at your code during the competition. So usually like they judge you based on the presentations and the findings and the visualization. So nobody actually look at the code. And so you don't actually have to be very careful with the code. And so that's why like I actually recommend to have the code, some of the main code written beforehand, and then during the competition you can just like put in all the data, and then you can play around with it, so that you don't have to worry too much about this. And then this also can be something that is shared, right? So you can work on like a shared GitHub page where you have like all the different steps in the different notebooks, so that people can also contribute and do together as well. And it doesn't have to take on a lot of time actually. So there's like tons of like freely available boilerplate codes for machine learning projects, or for causal inference projects that are already online. You can search for tons of them there, or already available on GitHub or Kagos. So you can also reuse other people's code as well. That's absolutely fine. And so those are like the main things before the competitions, right? So just like I think have like 1 or 2 team meetings like before the competitions, to like divide all these things up, so that people know like what to focus on for do training before the competitions. And then during the competitions, this is there's a couple of things that I think you should focus on. So there are two strategies, right, for how to approach the competition. So from previous years, if I remember correctly, you actually start on in the afternoon of the first day. So I think you have 3 days, right? So the first day, I think in their schedule is going to be on a Friday. So usually you would start in the afternoon of Friday. And then I think in the afternoon, late afternoon, like they will start to give you the, I think an USB or maybe like an online repository with the data. And then you will start basically working on the data and working on the questions. There usually will be the data set, and then the organizer will also maybe give you directions to go for, or they can just ask you, hey, tell us something interesting about the data set. And then you just basically have to come up with your own questions and come up with your own research hypothesis, basically. So two strategies. The first strategies is basically you can relax on the first day. You receive the data set, you sit together, you theorize about it, and you do some preliminary exploratory data analysis to know what's in the data, and also to maybe perhaps to test on some theories that you have on the data. And then you go out into the night and you enjoy the first night in a bar to talk about the data and all that, and then go to bed and have a good night's sleep on the first night, so that you can actually, because the second day, which is the Saturday, is the only full day that you will have to work on this. And so what we usually do is always to make sure that on the second day we're like all clear mind, have good night's sleep, so that we actually on full functioning mode on the Saturday, so that we can actually like even like go an all-nighter if we need to for the data. Otherwise, if right on the first day you go all out and like go all-nighters on the first night already, then usually on the second day on Saturday you lose a lot of that momentum, I think, because like everyone's quite tired. So the second approach is something that I would not recommend, even though like some groups tend to like it more, because they if they, for example, if you have inspirations, right, for if you work on the data, have some inspiration or and good directions of how you want to go with this data, and then you perhaps might want to work all night on the first day to get that done, and then so that you can relax later. But if on the first day you work together on this, and then you don't have a clear direction yet, then I would recommend just to have an easy night, because it's the first day that you're there. You've been doing traveling, and so you're tired, and so have a good night's sleep, and then come back on Saturday early in the morning to regroup, and then to think about that more deeply, and then some insights might come. So those are the two strategies, depending on how your group functions, I think, on the first day. And so the data sets, this is something that happens every time. So the first half hour and to the first hours is usually like very, very chaotic, because like you just get the data, there's a lot of information there, and you don't know what to do with it. And so it's usually very confusing and very excited as well with the different team members. Something that we highly recommend is just to sit down, look at all the variables, and do some just normal data types analysis, and look at the data types and what are the things that you have there. Look at some preliminary exploratory data analysis to see like maybe what are some of the correlations within the data, right? And do some heat maps to see like what are some of the variables that are closely correlated, so that maybe you can group them together so that you can have less variables you have to deal with, or you can also delete some data as well. And also you can see what are some of the missing data that might be added to this data set that can actually enhance it for your analysis later on as well. So this is something that is usually done in the first day. So the first day is always to understand the data, right? Making sure that you have a good grip of the data, and making sure that you know what is in this data set, so that you can start to think about it more deeply on the second day in the modeling part. And also make use of the time. And so I mentioned earlier that usually like you have someone who's focused on like data cleaning and data wrangling, right? And then the people that do the modeling usually have to wait for this to be done first. And so during the time when you wait for people to do the cleaning of the data and the wrangling of data, then I would highly recommend to just research on the domain knowledge of the subject, right? So for example, the data set that we worked on at the Datafest that we attended was a data set on I think hockey matches. I think so. It was a data set on women's hockey players and how their workload influenced their fatigue level. I think that was the thing that we worked on. And none of us played hockey, right? So like we didn't know anything about hockey, and we didn't know about like what kind of exercises these people do, what kind of workload they have to do. And so we have to do actually a lot of research on the domain of like hockey players and hockey research. On workload, for example. And so this is something that I highly recommend to make use of the time when people are cleaning the data up and wrangling the data, is to research into the domain, look into the research that has been done already on this domain to see what are maybe some of the theories and what are some of the research questions that you can come up with that can also help to inform your hypothesis later on as well, right? So this is I think a very useful thing to do because also you can also use this research in your presentation later on, right? And so you can actually cite the different research that you found, and so you can say that, hey, I built on this research, and this is what we found based on the data that you give us. And yeah, come up with hypotheses, come up with theories. It's a very important part of this process, and then also to focus on the strength that you have as a student of a public policy school, right? So it means that you focus on so a lot of your classwork, you have to always think about policy implications, right? So the policy implications of your findings and the causal links of the variables, right? So this is something that just an example. I remember during the competitions that we had in that year that we attended, the only two teams among the 15 different teams that were there that actually talked about statistical significance and causal analysis were Hertie teams because like we cared about this stuff. We care about like causal analysis. We care about what is the actual causal links between these different variables. And then we actually put that into the presentations, and people were quite impressed with that. Otherwise, other teams, they were all focused on creating very fancy machine learning algorithms, like random forest and decision trees and having all these metrics, but then no one actually talked about, so what is actually the actual causal drive of these models. And so highly recommend focusing on your strengths as a public policy school student, which is understanding the causal link and also explain the machine learning algorithms, right? Like how do you explain the models, how do you explain the different variables, and those are the things that I think will add a lot of depth in your analysis and in your findings and your research. And yeah, so I think to add on to this part on explainability as well, one thing that I highly recommend is to going through the Kaggle Learn tutorials, right? So I think I can open it here so you can take a look. Yeah, so on Kaggle Learn, they actually have a sections on all the different courses that you can take to basically like upskills on the different machine learnings and data science, and highly recommend going through feature engineering and data cleaning and machine learning explainability. So this is something that I think is very important if you want to add that depth in the layers of your findings in your model. So there's they have a very good I think course. I think it takes like 4 hours to go through, and they have codes that you can actually use as boilerplate codes for your analysis in Datafest as well, right? So you can see there are different metrics and how to use these metrics to understand machine learning algorithms and how to explain machine learning algorithms. And so this explainability aspect is something that I think it's very important to add on for your analysis and your presentations later on. And so, yeah, causal analysis and machine learning explainability is basically like what you can add to this this competition is basically to make your presentation shine, I think. And yeah, and then the last full point for during the competition is to code dirty. As I mentioned earlier, nobody really take a look at your code, so you can just write like functions to use one time, and you don't have to like write pretty codes, and you don't have to wrap everything in a pretty class or whatnot. Just code so that you get the job done, so you don't have to worry about it. Later on, you can also, after the competition is over, you can clean up the code so that you can use it for putting it on your GitHub page as well, so other people can see. But during the competition, just get the job done. Code something that is quick to fix the problem, to get the issues done, and then move on. Right. So the important thing is to get the insights, get the visualizations, and maybe use some of the external data to add on to the data set that you have. So those are the more important things, because those are the things that people judge you on these competitions. And then for presentations, make sure that you know your audience, so you know who the judges are, so that you can actually tailor the presentations according to who the judge who judge basically on your presentation. So this is something that happens very regularly, where I think they have like someone who's from the universities, someone who's from industry, who actually is the technical person, and then maybe someone who is like from the business sectors, or someone who is not very familiar with data analysis, right? And so you have to make sure that your presentations actually speaks to all of these different peoples, so that you don't just like talk a very technical talk, but you actually talk about things that even normal people can understand. So that depends a lot on your audience and your judges. So make sure you know who the judges are, so that you can actually tailor the presentations to their knowledge and to their taste as well, so that it's easier for them to understand, and also it's easier for them to evaluate you, I think, against the others as well. And also for presentations, you can have fun with it. You don't have to go through the normal route of hey, like one person presenting like point by point by point by point. So something that we do quite a few times during the competitions that we went on is that we actually mix it up. Like we actually have like a little play, for example, where we pretend like we're in a company and we're working on a data problem, and then we basically like do like a little play on the stage where we're actually like, hey, like one of your teammates is like the boss, and like you're trying to explain to the boss what is the thing that you're trying to achieve, and what is the findings that you have in the data, for example. And people actually really like that, and you can have a lot of fun with that. You can make a lot of jokes during that play, for example. And so this is, I think, a very good way to connect with the audience as well, and also to show that you also want, you also can have fun, and you can also enjoy doing this, and data is not boring, and it's not something that is just like for nerds, right? But it's also something that is very accessible, and you can interact with it in a lot of fun way. And also, to make sure to network with people there as well. So Datafest is basically an opportunity where there's a lot of different companies that will be there to support the events, and also to a lot of different students from other universities. Could be PhD, could be postdocs, or could be graduate students as well. So it's a very good chance to, I think, to connect with people from other places, to learn about what is their experience in learning in these places, and also just to and it also might be a good opportunities for jobs. I remember we had I think 2 sessions on jobs opportunities in the different companies that funded the events, and actually a few of the people from Herdes actually got job directly from the events, because they attended the events, and the CEO of the companies was actually there at the event, and they saw how the team performed, and they actually really like it, and they actually like they actually came directly to us, and they and the CEO actually gave us their card and say, hey, like we really like your team and the way that you present the presentation. So give us a call after you graduate in case you want a job. And then actually, like some people actually contacted them, and they got jobs directly from that. So highly recommend networking and getting to know the people there. I mean, like not just to get a job, right? But just to get to know them and know more people and set up your network in the industry as well. And and have fun in Munich. It's a beautiful city. Some of you probably have already came here before, but it's a beautiful city, and lots of fun things that you can do here, and also a lot of fun places you can also do short day trips in like Neuschwanstein Castle is very close by if you want to drop by, or Nuremberg as well is very close by. Enjoyed it. Don't fret too much over it, and make sure that you also have time to decompress with the team, and you can enjoy the city together. Because like I mean, like it's like one of the few times that you actually go somewhere and somebody pay for it, right? So might as well make use of it and enjoy it. Yeah, and then after the competitions, make sure that you keep in touch with the people that you make friends with, and you talk with during the competitions there, so that you keep in contact with them. It could be on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, or whatever, or you could have like a big group of WhatsApp for people that attended it, or you can join them on Facebook or Discord. So make sure that you keep in contact to yeah. So you might be colleagues, or you might be future. I don't know, like you might collaborate together later on in the future, right? So the data field, I think like it's a big field, but it's also a very small field. Like a lot of people like go for the same kind of companies, and so you might know some of these people later on if you decide to stay in Germany and you work in Germany, for example. And also something that it's not like required, but I highly recommend you to do is to document your experience, right, with the competition. So to actually put like the code that you write like after the competitions, highly recommend to go over it, to maybe clean it up a little bit and put it up on GitHub, so that you actually show people that, hey, like I went to this hackathon and this is like my product of like going out to this hackathons. And also write up about your experience. So you could write it and put it up on Substacks, put it up on Medium, or like one of these like article space as well, so that you actually can look back on later on. And so like I was actually quite glad that yeah, I wrote on this blog. This is a blog that I think I put in 2019 just to track my progress in learning mathematics, so basically. And I was actually very glad that I wrote it down. So yeah, so this is the team that we had back then in Mannheim. And I was actually very glad that I wrote it down, because like I have no memory of this whatsoever. Like I have no memory of this data sets and actually working on this. And now that I read it, I actually remember what we worked on, and what was like some of the findings, and like why things were the way they were. And so I think highly recommend to just document and write down, yeah, maybe just a few paragraphs or something of your experience of being there, so that you can look back on later on in the future. And you can also share this with your colleagues and your friends as well, right? And also something that yeah, something that um, the communications teams is also asking is also, yeah, if you decide to write a blog about the experience of attending Datafest, you can also contact them, and they would I think be very happy to put up your blog posts on and feature them on the website as well. So this is something that is absolutely doable. And also I highly request you to put in your request for reimbursement immediately after you come back from the trip, so that you don't forget. Because like you think that you will not forget, but like a week or 2 weeks afterward, you start to forget what you actually paid, and like things that you have. And so highly recommend after you come back, maybe a few days after, like collect everything and then send it back to us, so that we can start to process your reimbursement, basically. So I think I set the limit. We set the limit as 250 euros. If you go over that a little bit, that's fine. Like I mean, you don't have to be strictly at 250, but try to keep, I think, at 250. But if you're like 270s or 280s, probably still fine. But just like don't go over 300. So that there's some flexibility there. So you don't have to worry too much about like always keeping it under 250. Yeah. But yeah, so those are my main things that I would like to touch on, I think, for this. And I think we can like go for questions if you have any, and I can again try to answer based on my memories of what happened there. Yeah, I think Alvaro, you have your hands up first.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having this time with us. I think this is going to be really helpful for all of us to prepare for the hackathon, and I think everyone here is super excited to go there. I had two questions, mostly regarding like the funding that we have. We've already all bought our train tickets, and we already have booked our hotel, so we have all of that done by now. And I think we have left from like in the general of the ruling that we have, like for the 250 per person, we have like $600 that are like we haven't used. I have two questions there. The first one, there were some other students from the MDS that they were like interested in this, in attending all this. Do you think if it's still possible? I already asked the people from the Munich team. Do you think it would be possible to maybe add another team of like 3 or 4 people that they might attend with the money that is that is over? Do you think that would be
Yes.
possible?
Yes, it's possible. So
Okay.
it's absolutely possible. So if there are more people interested, we can absolutely add onto that. So there's no problem with that. So if the organizers are okay with adding another team, then very happy to also help them with that as well. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I already asked the organizer, so as soon as we got an answer back from them, I'll let you know. You know, because we have some other MDS and other MPP students that wanted to go. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you regarding the money is that okay, we already had like our accommodations and our travel expenses. Is there any chance that we could also use this, for example, for the nice meal after the event, that we can also
Yes.
use it? Yeah.
Yes. So you can use it with a meal together with everyone. I think uh, yeah. So I'll take a look and see like what is the limit. I think there's like a limit for like how much you can spend on a meal, but I think like
Mm-hmm.
per person is probably fine. Like
Yeah.
so there shouldn't be any problem. So you can
Okay.
yeah, like everyone can like have like a group dinner with everyone together in Munich or something. So that is
Perfect.
like a nice bookend to the event. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I'm like organizing the whole finance thing, so
Yeah.
everyone else can be focused on the coding, including myself. But just to have that already checked out. And another question I might have, I'm gonna check the Kaggle. I think the Kaggle learn thing, the practice you told us are really nice. And do you have by any chance? Do we just like look for the what was the name of the item you told us? The boilerplate templates. Is there any particular that you recommend, or just look it up in internet to see like what are the best ones? Do you have any particular like the source you trust the most, or just in general just look out for those around the web?
Yeah. So yeah, I think Kaggle is a good place, right? So you have a lot of
Do we have access to Kaggle as Herdy students?
yeah, like Kaggle is free for everyone, so you can actually
Perfect.
access it
That's
like
great.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
anyone can get access to it. So usually like what I actually highly recommend is to so Kaggle is actually a very good source for boilerplate code. So there's a lot of different data sets on here. Like you can actually look into the popular data sets and look into the popular notebook,
Oh
right? So
wow.
this is basically like a collections of all the different data sets that are usually used for data science learning, and also all the different notebooks that people have written and very detailed documentations on what these different notebook are. And so inside the notebook, you can actually reuse their code. Basically, you can just like find some of the notebooks that are focused on tabular data, and then you can basically use that to like, just use it for your own, and you can take some of the code there for data cleaning, for data modeling, and all that. So it's absolutely fine. Like there's no
Perfect.
problem. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for this resource. Okay, thanks.
I think Jorge, you have questions. Thanks.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much. It wasn't like an awesome presentation. Like as Alvaro told us, like we are super excited for this event, and also thanks to Luis and Simon for like their interest in like sending us to Munich. And like just regarding the the code, uh, I don't know if they allow us to like get the data, because as far as I know, like they keep the data with them, like with the organizers.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So that is my question. Like, it was like the same rule for you, or what
Yeah.
happened there?
Yeah. So the data, if I remember correctly, they gave us like an USB stick, right? And then we use that to download the data to computers. But at the request of the data owners, we have to delete the data after the competition is over. So we cannot share the data online, but we can share the notebooks, right? So we can share the notebooks, we can share the findings. We just cannot share like the data in full. So that was what happened. And so it's still absolutely fine. I think if you put the notebooks that you have later on GitHub as well. Just don't share the data for other people to see, and that's still fine. Yeah. Yeah, I hope that answers it. Yeah, Rodrigo. Hey.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Hui. Thanks again for this time with us and this presentation, and I'm really happy to join the team. And I would like to ask you some tips regarding the workflow. I mean, we have different experiences and practices. Like I'm way better in wrangling on R rather than Python. So how do you have suggestions on how could we better uses each one's talents in this way? Should we use GitHub? Should we try to use everything in Google Colab, even though it's in R or in Python together? I mean, general tips in this field would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So we also had these issues with the team that we had back then as well, right? So some people are really good with R, so they don't like to use Python. Some people are just like purely Pythonista, and so what we did was basically for example, if someone who's like really good at R and they're good at data cleaning, for example, then they can clean the data and then can wrangle the data within R and then they export it as like a CSV or something, right? And then the people that do the modeling, if they do it in Python, then they can basically use that CSV to put it. So there you can have like isolations of different tasks as well. So you don't have to. Not everyone has to work together on the same on the same notebook, and then you don't, and then you kind of like go over each other's task. So there's some points where you can actually separate the tasks and then you can actually do different things with it. And so that's what I would recommend, which is like just to outright say that, hey, I'm more comfortable working with R. Can I do this task with R? And you can also do the same task with the different languages as well, right? So this could also be some interesting findings that you can have there. So it could be that while doing modeling in R, you find the different things, and modeling in Python, you have different things, and that could be something that you can present as well in the presentation. So I remember there were some teams that were also doing that as well, and that was also very interesting to see like how the R algorithms and the Python algorithms differ in terms of like calculating the statistical different significance. So yeah, so like for example, it's R is very good with all the statistical modeling, right? Like statistical modeling and causal inference, like R is still the king. And then Python is very good with machine learning modeling as well, right? So that might be where you might want to see the separations, which is like it might be that your theories and your hypothesis requires that you do more statistical and causal analysis. Then it might be R that is needed. But if you want to do also machine learning algorithms and to do predictions or classification tasks, then yeah, like go for Python as well. So it depends a lot on the task and on the hypothesis and the theories that you come up with for this. So yeah, usually like my recommendation for workflows is always when you first get the data, as I mentioned earlier, just read together the data, right? That's just to put it on a notebook, go over the data types, talk together, and on the topic, right? And theorize a little bit before going a little bit deeper into the analysis, right? So you always take a look at the data. You sit together and you have some theories, and then you start to do exploratory data analysis, right? Exploratory data analysis is basically just when you do some heat maps and you do some normal imputations just to see like what are some of the correlations. And once you see the correlations, and then you can start to have more theories basically so you can actually like start to like weed out the different theories that you have in the beginning to find like the one theory that you want to stick onto. And don't be afraid to try out different things. I think that's the important thing. Because a lot of times like we find out that we go in one directions a lot, and then actually like we realize in the end like it was not actually statistically significant, and there's like no the model didn't actually work, and then you have to like actually like backpedal a lot of that work. And also a lot of times like you can also just finish the analysis very early, right? It could be that on the very first day you've done everything already, and then on the second day you can actually start to like think more deeply and maybe perhaps like add more data source to it, or maybe do some more fancy visualizations as well. So I think it's a never-ending task with a data set. So there's always things that you can do to it. There's always things that you can add on to it. yeah, don't be afraid to explore more. And yeah, also you can use all the different tools that are available today, right? To use it, like so you have like ChatGPT that can help you, and you also yeah, you can also maybe think about perhaps like even like building like a yeah, like a chatbot to talk with the data set, for example, or with the findings that you have as well. Like that is also absolutely doable with the API that they have already open source. But this is just like just on a tangent, right? So the main thing is to actually find the insights first in the data. Then after you find the insights, and you think about the visualizations, how to make it pretty, how to make it fun for people. So just an example. So the in the previous years on the hockey match data set, right? So the winners of the visualizations for the hockey match, they didn't touch the data at all. So this is something that is quite weird. Like, so you have the data sets on people's on the women's team's hockey match workload and fatigue, right? The winning teams of visualizations didn't touch any of those numerical data. What they did was actually like to create like a 3D models of like the women's hockey match team, and then they create like kind of like a game engine, right? So I think they have like a game developers in their team, and so they actually like create like a 3D game of the hockey match, and then basically they use like one of the ready-made models online, and then they basically just like add the different players in the hockey match team on there, and then like that's their visualizations, and then they won visualization even though they didn't use any of the data in the competition. So that's why like yeah, think outside the box as well, right? So it might be that you can like do a lot of different things with, and you don't have to like stick to the convention of things. Yeah, that's my like that's my impression, I think, like of attending the data fest like in previous year. And then for the people that won the external data, I think like they add in the some data on positionings, right? On I think satellite positionings, or I think positionings of the players in on the field on the different dates of these different matches, right? So like on you can kind of understand like on a different hockey match, there's always like people that record the positions of the players on these matches, right? And so they basically add on this data set to the data set on workload and fatigues of the hockey match players, and so like they won because they use like a very extensive, I think, external data to add on to their analysis. So that's yeah, that's like another way to go about it. And so yeah, you can also have yeah do that as well, which is to find other data sources that might be available and to supplement and to enhance your data set. Do you have any other questions on the? Yeah, I think most everything is running relevant.
Yeah, I think everything's clear, at least for my part. But no, really thankful for your time, and also giving all of these valuable insights. I think it's gonna be really useful.
Okay, good. Yeah, if you have any other questions, you can also just send me an email. And yeah, if I remember anything new as well, I will also let you guys know. Yeah, I will share the presentations and also the recordings a little bit later, and also the travel reimbursement form to you as well. So you can also take a look. I mean, it's a very simple form as long as you keep the receipts of the travels and yeah, of the trains and of the hotels and also of the meals, and like yeah, we can reimburse you. There's no problem with that. Yeah, all the best. Good luck to the teams, and yeah, just remember to have fun. I think it's a really fun event to yeah, build good relationship with your teams and also with the people like in other universities as well. So enjoy it and have fun and yeah, have some beer in München and enjoy that. I love Munich. Like it's such a beautiful city, and yeah, I think
we should move the masters to Munich. What do you think?
Yeah, I asked Cornelia, the president, to see if we can maybe have like a offshoot of Herdy there. yeah, it's a beautiful town. Like I think a lot of people usually they say that, hey, people in Bavaria are like very uptight and all that, but I never had that experience. I remember visiting Munich last year, also with the 9 euro ticket scheme, right? So and then you're gonna also have that, I think, this summer, where you can travel everywhere in Germany, I think, with your ticket as well. And I remember like going there last summer. I spent like a week or something in Munich and in the surrounding area, and the people there were so lovely. Like, they were just like the loveliest people that I've met. Like, actually much nicer than people in Berlin, which is quite a nice surprise. And it kind of reminds me of this movie Parasites, where like people say that, hey, like people can be nice because they're rich, right? So they're so rich that they can be afford to be nice. And I kind of remember that, but I don't know if that's true. But I just like have the loveliest time in Munich, and people there were just very kind and very helpful, and they're everybody was just like so very nice to you. And so yeah, I think you guys will have a great time there. And yeah, let me know if I can help anything further before your trip and during as well. So take care. And
Thank you.
have a
Could
good
you
day.
please send us the slides you showed us
Yeah,
today?
absolutely. Yeah, I'll send it in the
Perfect.
email. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Have
Thanks,
a nice
Luis.
day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Same.
thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.